Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel APM Guide. As a part of our APM server command line argument series, in this video we are going to discuss about the complete details and usage on the arguments called callback address and callback port. Okay, so what exactly the callback address and callback port? Okay, see, the callback address specifies the IP address or host name on which the current service or script will listen for the callbacks or receive notification. Okay, means, see, if you see the our APM architecture, when the client sends a request to the APM server, and from there, so whichever the automation name we are using it, Android or iOS, the request is sent from the client to the APM server, from there to the our end device. Okay, so what happens when we send this request? It takes some address and port. Okay, and when you send a request, it is waiting for the response from the end device. Okay, the response will send from the end device to the APM server. From APM server, the response is sent to the client. Okay, this response is talks about the callback address. So the response which receives from the APM server to the client is called as a callback address. The same thing with the port also. Okay, so we'll see more about these things in this video. Okay, so it says callback address specify the IP address or host name on which the current service or script will listen for the callback or receive notification. Okay, and same with the callback port. Specify the TCP port number the service will listen to the callback request. Okay, so when you send the request here, it will wait for the response. The response will be sent to the callback address and callback port. Okay, so normally in our case what happens, we will not specify any callback address and callback port. Just we say, see, when I open the command prompt here, when I say APM server, when I say APM server, in this case what happened, the both the address and callback address or port and callback port will be same, means the request and the response are on the same IP address and same port. Okay, so this is the callback address and callback port. So it's a general information what happens. The callback address, we have used the alias name also, that is a -ca. Specify the IP address that the APM servers use for callback response. As I told, when you use the APM server without any arguments, so by default this set the same value as address flag, which determines the IP address the server listens on. If the address is not explicitly set, it is defaults to be 0.0.0. Means the server listens on all network interfaces. Therefore, unless you specify a need to direct calls to different IP address, it is common to omit the callback address flag and rely on the default behavior. Means what happened when you run the APM server, default the address and callback address or port or callback port will be same. Okay, means request and response will be on same IP address and port. Okay, that is the default behavior. So if you want to specify, then we have to use these arguments called callback address and callback port. Okay, see, this is already we discussed about default behavior, right? By default, if you start the APM server without specifying the callback address, it will use the same IP address as the defined by the address flag. Okay, and we have other one is the in this first case, and second case we are using different callback address. So these things we will check it here in our command prompt. We'll see how exactly it works here. Okay, so we have already opened the command prompt here. Okay, here I have run the APM server without any arguments here. So in that case, the both callback address and callback address are port and callback port will be same. Okay, now what I want to specify it. Before that one, I close the APM server here, and I want to specify the, so I clear it here, clear the this one, and now what we'll do, we'll specify, okay, the IP address and the port. So the default will be the same address and callback address. Okay, we'll use this one. Okay, so APM, I had to use the argument called double hyphen address. Okay, and I want to specify the IP address here. So you can use either over IP address here and the port. So I am specifying the port here. I have used the default one. So what happened here, I am using only the arguments called address and port here. So I am not using the callback address here. So in that case, what happened? Automatically the callback address, IP address and callback port will be same as the address and port. Okay. So this is the default behavior here. Okay. And in our case, okay, we will go to the second scenario. Before that one, we clear this one. So you understand, right, what exactly the default will be. See, default will be the address, port will be same for the callback address and port. Okay. Now this we will see the second scenario. So what is that? If you need the APM server to send the callback response to a different IP address, you can specify the callback address and callback port flags. Okay, see, I have made a small animation here. So if you see this animation, I am sending the request here and I am waiting for the response. So I am waiting for this response here from the APM server. So what happened? Default one, we have using the same IP address and port. But in this second case, what I will do, I will specify for request, there is an address for address and port for the request, and callback address and callback port for the with different IP address and port. So in this case, the request IP address and port and response, that is callback IP address and port will be different here. Okay, as you see in our animation here. Okay, so you go back to our PPT here. See here what happened. Here you see I have write a command here. So address I am giving the. So I just copy this one so that we can use the same command here. So open this one. Okay, and just paste here. So here, if you see in this example, I am using the APM. So we are launching the APM server, and I have given the address as 192.168.1.10, and port I am using default port. Okay, I am using the double hyphen port argument, and I provide the value as 4723. Here in this case, I am using the callback address, and the callback address IP address, you can see it is different here. Okay, 192.168.1.20. Here it is 10. Okay, and the callback port also I have specified as 4725. Means the response is on one IP address and port, and the request is on other IP address port. Okay, so when you run this one, our request, you can see here, address and callback port is different here. Okay, so what will happen in this scenario? My request is going on this IP address. Okay, on this IP address, so on this IP address, okay, on this port, and the response is coming on this callback address. This is this IP address and this port. Okay, so in this scenario, my address and callback address IP address is different. The same with the port. Okay, and when to use this one? See, when to use this callback address and callback port. This is very important here. See, the callback address flag is particularly useful in scenario where the APM server and client are on different machines or network. Okay, and you want direct the callback response to a specific IP address different from the server listening address. Okay, so in this case we had to use where our APM servers and client are on different networks or machines, or I want to listen the response to a specific IP address which is different than the server listening address. Okay, so in this case we need to use it here, and this is essentially distributed test environments or when dealing with the network configuration that requires such setups. Okay, so this is the use of callback address and callback port. Okay, if you like this video, please click on like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.